other things have people made you do over the years?
Well, they tried to make me do things. You know that I was in that whole Bill Cosby era. I did not know Bill Cosby, but you know how all these people are non-believers that happened? No, that was the era when you couldn't have babies out of wedlock. You couldn't have babies at all. You had to look and act sexy at all times and act like you were single and ready for these sleazy producers. And so, therefore, guys, the casting couch was very alive and well back then. I didn't do anything. I hid behind, and you probably remember, Gil, I dated a comic named Bobby Kelton, who was kind of boring, and I kind of used that as my shield. Like I looked like this sexy, over-the-top thing, but when in fact I was a homebody, and I'd go home and hide behind that. So I basically was a prick teaser. I put it out there that yes, I could and may sleep with you, but I never did, and that hence the problem why I'm now selling bras and not the star that you are.
And, well, can I say something, too? Around that time, I, too, was a major cock teaser.
You still are, buddy.
Yes, I thought it would help my career by being a big cock teaser.
I remember. It's true. Like, you had to put it out there, but then you had to run away. It was a very scary time.
And I was fucking Bill Cosby at the time. Yes.
I was the only one who wasn't.
Yeah.
I never met him, thank God.
Yeah, he was on top of me going, "Hey, there goes in, with the thing, and put your thing in the thing with the really, and let me lick on your nosey go, and suck on my hoozy gagoo. You got big round housey nose."
Now you know what kind of show it is, Rhonda.
I love it. Okay.
I've never been to the Playboy Mansion. I know a girl who was a Playboy bunny, and she tried to get me invited, but I guess I don't have enough clout. They were like, "No, we're booked." I was like, fucking humiliated. Bet you a lot of sex goes on there.
I was there once, I think.
You never told me that. You went to the Playboy Mansion?
Yeah.
What happened?
Some costume, nighttime whatever their parties are. And, I mean, they were painted naked girls. That I liked. But I went into the grotto, which I thought somebody said the grotto's over there, and I thought, oh, this is going to be Dante's Inferno.
Yeah.
And nothing was going on.
But instead you got tired.
Yeah.
You woke up and Cosby was sucking your toes.
Yeah. Yeah. And he was sucking my toes going, and you know
the Bill Cosby episode. You're in the most watched Bill Cosby ever.
Yeah.
Now, did he try to rape you? Did you see him?
What do you mean try?
That's how you got the part.
Yeah. It was a big show. He didn't have to rape me for it.
He wasn't there on a Thursday.
Let me just fuck you in the ass and the part's yours, Gilbert. Let me stick my black dick in your little Jew asshole and it'll make you scream out.
That should be when you die.
That's the bit. That's the obit.
Remember, the thing that surprises me the most about the Bill Cosby story is how good he got at putting women to sleep. It was like he became an expert Vegas hypnotist or something. On 3, you're going to go to sleep. You're going to go to sleep. And you're asleep. And I'm not raping you. I'm not raping you. I'm not coming on your back. I'm not coming on your back.
Oh, God.
If you find cum on your shirt, that's Malcolm Jamal Warner. That's Malcolm Jamal Warner. And you're awake. You're awake. What did he tell you, though? He told you something about why... The assistant director told you why he wasn't there. Because he did something every Thursday.
Oh, my God.
This is a true story.
Oh, my God.
I don't know this story.
Yeah. This story I heard from someone who worked on the series. That
When you were dating Tempest Bledsoe.
that there was a certain portion of the day set aside, like 3 o'clock or whatever, where he allegedly
Please throw that in.
where he gave he taught Asian models. He gave comedy lessons to Asian models. And this is why there are so many funny Asian models now.
That's why in the 90s we saw so many funny Asian models. That is so specific. Like,
Yes.
who would say that with a straight face? Like he gives Asian models comedy lessons. What? You would tell somebody who works for you under no circumstances. Do you tell somebody, I give Asian models comedy lessons?
See, but to prove it's true, just today a Chinese girl came over to me and said, "Hey, how's it going? And you going
As a matter of fact, that means Connie Chung used to sign off the news. This was weird. Now it makes sense. Connie Chung would sign off the World News Tonight by going, hey.
Once again.
Connie Chung. That's the news. Hey, Badooba. Hey, Alba Badooba. She put a hat on like Rudy.
With the eye holes.
Oh, yeah, the eye holes hat.
Last night I was fucking Lucy Liu.
That's the funniest thing she's ever done.
And in the middle of orgasm, she yelled out, "Hey, Zagali, and you go
No, the local newswoman, Katie Tung. I used to fuck her. And when she orgasmed, she would yell out, "Jello bread pudding!" Yeah, the kid on Fat Albert had that mask with the eye.
Oh, yes.
Connie Chung needed slanted eyes.
You mean Mushmouth or the other guy? Wow. Speaking of Asian models, I'm going to do a segue here.
I'm glad I'm in shape.
You want to tell Artie who we've been pursuing to be on the show?
Papillon Susu. She is the girl. Thank you.
Thank you. Pappy and Susu's mom.
Is that the person Steve McQueen played in the movie?
No. She was the girl in Full Metal Jacket who went, "Me so horny."
Wow, really?
No, actually, when it was re-released in the 80s, she said, "Me so horny,
Now, Papillon, I've seen you reel. Have you thought about trying that another way? Me so horny. She wrote the biggest hit Two Live Crew song.
Yes, yeah.
She's actually not even in show business anymore.
Yeah.
Somebody tracked her
She's
down
not in
for us.
show business. Neither is Matthew Modine. Frank just seriously said, she's actually not in show business anymore.
Well, she's a foot doctor living in London. Kid you not.
Yeah, because we called her, and she said,
Did she-
"I'm a foot doctor, and I'm taking the feet, and I'm looking at the toes." You got a fungal infection on your toe.
Oh, boy.
By any chance, are you so horny?
I'm so horny I could go.
Me so horny. Oh, that's fucking funny.
You want to talk about some 70s mom movies? You guys were also talking about Billy Saluga on the old...
Billy Saluga?
Yeah, Ray J. Johnson on the old roast on your
You
show.
could call me Ray.
First of all, yeah, we you know the Ray J that Kim Kardashian blew? Our generation has a Ray J too. He's a white guy that talks like a black guy. You can call me Ray J. You can blow me now.
Yeah,
Ray J was on like the old
the roast.
Red Fox stuff.
Yeah.
He built a lifetime career of like going out in kind of a zoot suit and a big hat.
You guys
and a
remember
cigar.
Billy Saluga? Does Ray J. Johnson?
Well, you could call me Ray, or you could call me Jay, but you don't have to call me Johnson.
That's the guy.
And he built a career.
Right.
on that.
Absolutely.
It was like Father Guido.
It
was a similar kind of, like a
But he was a great
persona.
writer.
Yeah, Don Novello. Yeah, great writer.
Wrote a lot of stuff. But, Ray J.
Ray J.
You could cover it. I just realized that's the same name of the guy Kardashian blew it. I forgot about that.
We got to get Billy Saluga on the show.
Oh, yes.
Do one show with Billy
What are
and
the
Papillon
odds?
Susu.
If he's alive, he's got to be in
he's
the
alive.
actor's home.
No.
How do you know he's alive? You're talking about, he's alive. Like, I'm supposed to know he's alive?
And
He was 62 in 1978.
I just met a Korean girl in a massage parlor, and as she was jerking me off, she said, well, you could call me Ray, or you could call me Jay, but you don't have to call me Johnson.
Yeah. There's the promo.
That was his act.
That's going to bring in a lot of the young kids.
What's the funniest film each of you have seen, Artie and Gilbert?
I want me to... Well, having made several of them, the old standards for me are Take the Money and Run. The first Woody Allen movie's got
that's great.
It's got 4 million jokes in it. Of course, then he married his daughter. But by the way, I saw Sun Yi and she said, "I'm marrying my."
He said, I'm marrying Woody Allen, and he's gonna put me in the van, stick his dick in my
I married the one Asian broad who fucked Bill Cosby.
So Take the Money and Run.
Take the Money and Run. An Animal House.
An Animal
House. If I had
House.
to choose 2, I guess. That's
good.
My favorite comedy would have to be House Guest with Sinbad.
House Guest with Sinbad.
Anything with Sinbad.
Anything with Sinbad.
That was such a horrible movie. Can you just finish the story with Tommy Smothers? What did he do to Bill Cosby?
David Steinberg told us that story.
I'd like to hear it.
He said something that irritated Bill, which now makes you laugh because of what Bill became. Jesus Christ, America's father, too. Could you come in here a minute, please, and take off your underpants and sit down on my face just for a minute? We'll just try and see if this part works. You might have this part in the Brady Bunch. Just sit on my face, please. And now rock back and forth. All right. Can you hear me, or are the drugs working? Okay. Thank you very much. You won't see me in the morning, but when you wake up, you're going to be a little sore. You might have trouble walking. Thank you. Anyway, he punched Tommy right in the head.
Tell Bob the thing about when you worked on the Cosby Show and they told you there were certain days that he wasn't there. The reason that he gave.
Oh, yes.
He'll find this interesting.
I did an episode of the Cosby Show, and I was talking to like one of the writers or something, and they said that Cosby had like an hour a day set aside that was to teach comedy to Asian models.
That's the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life. That's the funniest fucking thing I've ever heard. If you can name, and I can name Keith Moon before I can name an Asian funny model. Pat Morita? Who the fuck is a funny Asian model? They must have said, I don't understand what you are saying. Sit on my face, you stupid. That's all. That's how you make people laugh. Sit on my face. I feel very drugged. I don't know where I am. Now that's funny. Hurry up. I only have 40 more minutes. Teaching comedy to Asian models. That is just so funny.
Thought you'd appreciate it. Oh, God.
Wouldn't you love to see an Asian version of the Three Stooges? That is so funny. God, people make up shit, don't they? But this thing was surprising about Bill. And I'm saying that seriously. Because he was, he made billions of dollars and was really, he was great at what he did and real clean as a stand-up, and his life seemed really clean. And then all this crap happens. Just unbelievable. You just don't know.
Now we got to get to the most important thing, and I think what the world wants to know. You claim I got you fired.
You did.
From the Cosby Show.
Happily.
This was the Dr. Huxtable.
Yeah. No. It was this second iteration. It was.
Oh my God, Luke.
It
something.
was Cosby.
Yeah, and it was his name was Luke. Something.
Now I'm blanking on it. I'm blanking on Bill Cosby.
It was not the famous the successful Huxtable.
It was not
same wife.
Yeah,
they
same
brought
wife.
Her back.
In fact, he had fired the original woman who he hired, and he said to Felicia, "You got to come back," and she did, and we had a meeting, and it was with Les Moonves and Bill at his house, and Les said, "Hey, suppose we go to Atlantic City and we have Cliff Huxtable and the new guy whose name I'm blanking on now too."
That he was kind of like a rapper or something.
He was a baggage handler who had at JFK who Cosby was a baggage. Oh
handler.
yeah, and Dougie Doug.
Dougie Doug.
Yeah,
that's right.
The one. Yeah.
Who's hilarious, by the way. And so he had been downsized, and he was living in Astoria, he was he was supposed to be very angry at having been fired, and we did an episode, and we did an old vaudeville routine. I think you'll remember. You were in jail.
Niagara Falls.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my God!
Slowly,
wonderful.
I turned.
Yes.
And Gilbert was in jail. And Cosby and Dougie Doug.
But it was David Letterman that sprung me off.
The name David Letterman.
Yeah, David Letterman.
Made
Slowly
you crazy
I turned.
Because David Letterman had stolen your girlfriend.
Yes,
something like that.
Yeah.
So I loved the episode. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
It was a little crazy. And we did the show. We shot it. And I got a call from one of the producers, one of the owners of the show, and they said, Gilbert Gottfried, do you think he's funny? And I said, I think he's hilarious. He said, I don't. Can you cut him out of the show? And I said, well, yeah, sure, but we won't have a show. But I'll edit it, and we'll see what transpires. So I edited the show, and the producer called Cosby, who was off doing a weekend on the West Coast, and said, I hate this show. I hate this episode, and it's your fault. So he came back, and he was angry. And he didn't read the new episode, but he wanted to throw it out. And I took a stand, and I said, he was angry because the producer, I'm not going to name him or her, that didn't like the show. And I think it was difficult for him to hear this, especially from a woman. And that occasioned a reading where he just killed two of the writers, two young writers who I had hired. And I said, it's not their fault. We all go over this script. He said, I hate this. This is the next script. I hate this script. And it was all because he was angry that somebody didn't like the previous episode that you ruined.
Yes.
So I took a stand, and I said, "This is no. I'm the showrunner. I put this on the table, and don't blame them." To one of the writers who went on, by the way, to do Colbert, and is still with this Colbert's producer, a wonderful writer, and he turned to the guy at CBS, and I said, "Bill, it's a good script," and he turned to our guy at CBS, and he said, "What do you think of the script?" And alarmingly, the CBS executive said, "I think it's a terrific script, Bill." And he got up and he said, "Well, I guess I'm wrong," and left the room. And I heard taps playing in my head. That was it. And a half hour later, my agent called and said, they're making a change.
Wow.
So that was it.
And it's funny because...
He didn't even offer me a drink.
It's funny because when I was hired to do a guest spot on the other...
And it was his idea, by the way. He wanted you.
Well, because you'd been on the old Cosby show a bunch of times. You'd been recurring.
I remember when I was on Thick of the Night, that horrible show,
boy.
that somebody had told me Cosby was like a fan of mine. He had seen some episodes.
Yeah. He's the one who suggested you. He wanted to do Niagara Falls.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, let's get Gilbert. I said, great. Let's do it. And there you were. And
wow.
It wasn't your fault. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't your fault. No. But I was just defending these two young writers. And they lived, I died. I mean, I was gone.
See, I heard the reason you were fired is when you said, "Miss, don't drink that."
When he was teaching comedy to Asian models?
Yes. Yeah. Now, did you tell me that story? Somebody told me this story.
I don't think it was Norman.
When I was on one of the Cosby incarnations, they said that Bill Cosby sets aside like an hour. It's like in the schedule. Where he teaches comedy to Asian models.
Yeah. And Turkish models.
Yeah.
As well. No.
I remember when Cosby was on the air, there were so many funny Asian women around. Asian women were walking down the street going, "Hey, look out, you know, and here goes the thing,
No, but he was famous for a lot of, to me at least, for a lot of like 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. phone calls because he never slept. I mean, listen, I revere him. He's a comic legend, and I think this is a tragedy of Shakespearean proportions.
It is.
And
his comedy was special.
So what's the first line on the obituary?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and it's like, it's kind of like similar to like Fatty Arbuckle.
Yeah.
Fatty Arbuckle.
Well, Fatty Arbuckle.
Fatty was
you said
acquitted.
this the other day. What did he do? He gave somebody a Coke.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And he was like a very successful comedian, Fatty Arbuckle, and had loads of fans.
Yeah.
And it's same way you're going to remember Fatty Arbuckle when you bring up Bill Cosby. Oh, he was that guy who was raping all those women.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's going to be it, and that's sad because what he did for comedy, and you probably saw him as he was coming up. And David Steinberg was coming up
Sure.
at the same time, and Klein, and it was a great period for comics. It really was.
Interesting that it took 128 guests to find somebody who actually went to bat for you. At some point in your career. Gilbert has some information about the Cosby Show.
What?
Oh, okay.
More?
Can I?
More?
I
More
did.
information than has been spoken at
And by
court?
the way, how do you like the fact that he made himself an obstetrician on that show, Gilbert?
Yes.
Which we've never
love it.
discussed.
I love it. Better than an anesthesiologist, which was the actual.
Oh!
I did an episode of Cosby.
I know.
And what the two of the writers told me this, that in his schedule, set aside, like for say, 3:15, an hour was set aside to teach comedy to Asian models.
No.
Yes.
No.
That's what I heard.
You sure he didn't say agent models?
Asian models.
Asian models. That's why there are so many funny Asian models around now.
That would do it. Yeah, I don't think he got around to teaching them comedy. Is that real? That's so. How can that be real? Is that real?
How could you have a hard time believing that?
Yeah.
No, no, but I mean that the two writers told Gilbert that.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe them.
That's the only thing. No, 100%. Okay, here's my story. Do you want me to tell you the whole story?
Yeah.
Please.
Do we have 2 seconds for me to pee and come right back?
Sure.
Okay, here we go. And it doesn't mean I'm snorting Coke or anything. It means I'm peeing. Goodbye.
Oh my God, I love it.
Someday I'll tell you the real story of what just happened.
We know you peed.
No, you don't know anything. You just know what I told you. You
You
can't
told
see me.
us you peed.
Yeah.
I'd like to go with that. That's a good story.
Okay. All right. I peed off the balcony. I didn't. Okay.
Cosby.
So, first of all, John was, God bless him, the biggest Cosby fan of all time. When he was at SC, all of this, of course, before I was born. He based his cool wardrobe as Cosby's character on I Spy.
Wow.
With white, with plaid things and white belts and trying to be cool. He was just, and he always thought he was just wonderful. He loved him. And I loved him. I fucking loved him when I was a kid. But listen, Gilbert, when I was a kid, we had a record player, right? And we had a 45 of Winchester Cathedral.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And then what else do we have? The Letterman singing, oh, it's gonna be a long
See you in September.
Okay. And we also had What Goes Up must come down. Blood, Sweat, and Tears.
Yep.
And that's all we had. And then we had Cosby comedy albums.
Mm-hmm.
So my whole life, that was it. I just loved him. So when John was asked to come on the Cosby Show, they're like, well, do you know anybody that you'd be interested in playing your wife on the show? And he's like, oh yeah, there's this one person, Amy Yazbek. Let's not go into how that works. Anyway, so I go to New York. So now we're at the Cosby Show, and we ran through it and stuff, and it was fine. And then there was a time before the show, on the night of the taping, where they said, well, Cosby always likes to have dinner, and he has a big, so there was a chef, and there was this big room. Did this happen to you, Gilbert, or was it just John because he was a big star? Were you invited to a little dinner thing before?
I know.
So there was a big table, and there were all these people sitting around it, and he was sitting at the end of it like the fucking king, and there was like, I want to say Miss Colombia, Miss Nicaragua, something, Miss Teen something, there with her parents, and they're like, we want to take a picture, and he pulled her down on his lap, and John's just looking at me like, and he's like, I'm mentoring her. And I was like, oh, okay. And John and I were just like rolling our eyes like, okay, let's not get involved. I don't know what's happening. The parents are here. I'm sure it's fine. And then on the night before we went on, Bill Cosby said, I have a cappuccino maker. Can I make you guys some cappuccinos? And John loved coffee, but it made him very like sweaty and anxious. And he said, I can't have caffeine. And Cosby said, that's fine. I won't make it with caffeine. I have all the different things. Okay. He comes back. So he gives me a coffee, gives John a coffee. We throw it back. And then Cosby comes up in my ear, like right on my shoulder, dare I say Joe Biden style, but I'm going to vote for Joe. But, and he like in my ear whispers, that was caffeine. And I'm like, why did you do that? And he's like, for energy, to give him a little bump of energy before the show. And I said to John before we went on, by the way, this is my first multi-camera show. I had never been on a stage like that before. And I'm with Cosby and John. I have no fucking clue what I'm doing. But I just said to John, there was caffeine in that. And he said, he's a poisoner. And so we always called Cosby the poisoner.
Wow.
He goes, who does that? That's like if somebody's like in the program and you're like, actually, that wasn't a virgin blood.
Foreshadowing.
Yes. So we always called him the poisoner. Crazy.
Wow.
Once John missaid his line 15 times because he was so fucking high on this caffeine. And I said to John, you're sweating like a pig. I didn't know that I was mic'd. I didn't understand how things worked. And the audience heard it and it was terrible. But yeah, we called him the poisoner.
Oh my God.
How about that, Gil?
That's chilling.
But we also loved him. He did rub my feet in a weird way once, but who knows?
But as long as we're talking about the Carson show, do tell us the Cosby story because it's so much fun.
Oh boy!
Unless you don't want to.
No, I don't mind at all. I was working in Vegas, doing my first Vegas gig. I was opening for Crystal Gale, the country singer, sweet lady, kind, and I get a call in my little room at the Desert Inn, and he goes, "Hey, Brad, how you doing, man?" And I had impressionist friends, and I really thought someone was fucking with me, And I went, "Hey, what's going on?" He goes, "Listen, I got a question. I'm gonna be guest hosting the Tonight Show tonight, and there's a comic that's not doing it, and your name came up, and I thought you could do it." And I said, "Well, I'm opening for Crystal." "No, I'm at the Hilton. I'm at the Hilton. We're gonna fly. Johnny is sending his jet, and Johnny's jet is gonna pick us up, and you will be back by 7:30. So I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. I'm definitely not on anyone's radar. I had just done Star Search, and maybe, he felt I was safe and, wasn't going to. So I get they pick me up. I get in the limo. Next to me is Cosby. He's reading USA Today, and he's on the front page. And I'm going, "Thank you for this opportunity." "No problem." He doesn't say anything. It's a short drive to the airport. We get on. It was Carson's jet. Had the JC on the tail.
Wow.
I can't believe any of this. And all I'm thinking of, how many people could have said no or were unavailable before I got this? Because, I'm being realistic. What am I? So I get on he opens up, and this is when The Cosby Show was #1. He opens up another paper. I think it was the LA Times. He's on the front of the calendar. And I'm like, I'm sure I'm frozen. I don't know what to say. I've never been on a Learjet. And there's a bowl of fruit right in front of us. And he goes, "Have a kiwi." You know, and I said, thank you, I'm good. I said, I had an apple on the train. Okay? He didn't get it. He didn't get it, and I'm like, great, I'm fucking bombing before I'm... So we're about to land, and he goes, hey, I heard that you do an impression of me. And I said, yes, I do. Actually, I thought it would be fun. My set, I'm closing with it tonight in my set on the show. And he goes, don't do that. And I have my set, which is, you know, it's not a barn burner. I have my set figured out. And I figured, you know, I'm doing the, you know, what's in a McNugget, every hacky fucking line. But I'm saying to myself, if I close with Cosby and he's sitting right there, how can you hack out better than that? And so when he said, don't do it, I went, why? And he went, well, because you don't need to be yourself. And I said, well, I'm doing 4 impressions. And he looked at me and goes, okay, do 3. And I was like, oh my God, how do you not do Cosby? When I go out there, I start to do my set. It's not great. It's going over. It's the whole thing. As I'm getting closer to my 5.5 minutes, I can tell I'm not going to end strong. So I go into Cosby. And I was like, and the audience erupts. Oh my God, this giant Jew is doing Bill Cosby, they're thinking. And I look over at the desk and he's looking down, writing something on a piece of, and I know he's not happy. And he didn't have me over. You know, I didn't come over to sit. And it wasn't strong enough of a set anyway, to be honest. Now I have to fly back with him on the jet.
Wow.
I get to the airport. We get on Johnny's jet. Not a word. Not a word. And I'm dying inside. I'm like, oh my God, it wasn't a great set. But now I pissed off the biggest comedian in fucking history. And I'll never forget, not a word on the plane. You know, it was only a 40-minute flight on a Lear, but it's a long 40. And we're about to land, and I go, what the hell? I'll try the kiwi. And I grab the fruit, and he gets off, and I put my hand out, and I go, thank you. And he goes, yeah, right. And just shook, and I mean, went away, and then I didn't see him till 10 years later at a CBS party.
Wow.
He just jagged right by me. But out of desperation, you know, you're thinking to yourself, what do? I piss him off on live television, or do I get out with a strong 6? So I took the 6.
You made the right choice.
You think? Why leave with a 3 when you could get a 6? Right?
Gilbert, tell Brad what you found out about Bill when you did the show, and what explained his occasional absences.
Very, very weird. I was talking to 2 of the writers, and they said in his schedule, it was printed very neatly. In his schedule, there would be an hour set aside to teach comedy to Asian models.
Is this for real?
That's what they told me. They were dead serious.
Isn't that gold?
See, that's why you see so many funny Asian models nowadays.
Sure. I mean, it's just a model or an Asian alone would be a long course. It's a long, but you put them together, and it's no. This is what you do when you hold the top ramen. Don't eat it, sip it. Just sip it. And then I'm going to put this in the top ramen. Yeah. Gosh.
That's the best impression of old Cosby that I've heard.
Yeah, of old, yes. Pre-raping.
No, I meant like 60 and older Cosby.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, all the Cosby
yes.
impressions you hear are like young Cosby.
Yeah, well, yeah. I'm old. That's probably why.
That's why I saw Lucy Liu on stage, and she was going, "Here's the goal."
Now she's funny. Yeah. See, that's where. Oh my goodness.
We're going to send this episode to Bill in the joint.
3 years. I told you. Quiet. Thanks for having me. I do appreciate it.
Now, John, a story that I've told on this show a few times, and maybe you'd like to tell it.
Oh, you're not wasting any time, Gil.
No. This is all I want to talk about. And that was, what was one of the things on Bill Cosby's schedule during the day?
Are you saying every day or?
I think it was every day.
I really, other than talk to the writers, I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Okay, this, according to what I was told,
yes,
he had some time set aside in every day to, as it was titled, teach comedy to Asian models.
Well, I can see where history has kind of confirmed that rumor. But I have to correct it. It's a myth, because I think where that comes from is once we had a tour during one of the hiatus periods that Bill was there of people from Japan, and he took them on a tour of the show, and that's where that came from.
Wow, John, that was some nice dodging.
Yes,
that was excellent footwork.
Gilbert, I'm so sorry if I hate to pour any water on that rumor.
He can't touch you. He's in jail. Tell us the truth.
All three of you guys worked with Cosby. Bernie on the new Cosby show, the last one, the one Gilbert was actually on. And Billy, you worked with him way back in the day.
Yeah, yes. When I did a special with him when he went back to Philadelphia, and it was great, and he was great. When he had success, we flew to Vegas on 3 Learjets for a meeting. It was like a Jewish Air Force coming in, and he had cases of Chateau Lafite, and he would open one, have a drink, and then never come back to it again. He enjoyed his success early on like nobody I've ever seen.
Part of the problem.
And do you know anything about Asian models, Bill?
No, let me see. I don't think so.
Bernie, Gilbert was on that Cosby show, not an episode that you wrote.
No, I don't think so. I don't recall that.
What was your experience of the man?
He was very difficult in deciding on what to do on this week's show. We had decided what the show would be, and we wrote it. And then he'd come in the night before and say, I think instead of being on a ship, it should be a whole show about me on a horse.
Bernie, when you told that story, I just had some PTSD.
Yeah,
John was
I had 6
there
years
at
of
the
that.
beginning.
Yes, we were on that second show. He was he's a strange guy. He was not easy to get along with, and I didn't enjoy the couple of years, tell you the truth.
Gilbert, do you remember your appearance on the show, on the Cosby Show?
Oh, yes. That was say goodbye. Oh, say hello to a goodbye.
With Sinbad.
That's right. The title. You were really hilarious. And then I really wanted you to come back. And do you remember that I think you gave an interview where you said, hilariously, you said, well, I'm going to have a career where there's a black cast and they need a Jew on the show. And I think Bill saw the interview and was like, I don't think he's going to come back.
You know, I watched that episode yesterday, John, and I was telling Gilbert, his character's name is Mr. Babcock. And Bill walks over and shakes his hand and says, "Nice to meet you, Mr. Babbitt." And you guys never retook it.
No.
He got the character's name wrong.
That was improv.
Oh, okay, that was improv.
And Bernie,
yeah,
that other Cosby show where he was Lucas, the airline
Hilton Lucas, yeah.
Hilton Lucas,
yeah.
And what I noticed about that show, it seemed like every week it was a different type show.
We were searching.
Yeah.
David, say something, Haskell. Come on.
I worked with Cosby one day.
You did?
Yes, one day. He came to the Becker set to do promos with Ted Danson. And we wrote all the promos, and he came over and started talking. And it bore no resemblance at all to anything we'd written that he'd approved. So I went to his producer who came with him, and I said, I've got a little problem. He goes, "What's the problem?" I said, "He's not saying anything that we wrote." He goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Do you think he will?" He goes, "No, he's not going to say anything." So he walked in. Danson's looking at me going, he memorized the script, so none of the lines were right. So the two of them improv'd a little scene that I was supposed to cut into a show we'd already shot like 3 weeks earlier. So if you ever watched that show and tried to keep track of the days, it was like Bill Cosby walked in the doctor's office on a Monday, walked into Ted's office on a Friday, and then walked out again 2 weeks earlier. You had no way to know. But I asked John about it, and he said, "That's a good day with Bill Cosby."
Yeah, well, that's like Twilight Zone.
What's that? I'll say, like, listen, I got to hear, I guess if we can separate the art from the artist,
sure.
I got to hear what brilliance came at him. And it was constant, but, he got bored with material. He wanted to change things. So if we had a really good joke in the script and it killed at the table, he would target that joke because he wanted to make it better for him. And if he was in front of the live audience and he did that joke, he'd come out and he would actually avoid doing the joke first. And if what he tried died, he'd go backstage, he'd look at what was in the script, and he'd come out and he'd do that joke. And the audience, it was a great trick because the audience thought he made that joke up too.
Yeah. It's a great trick.
Now, John, I heard you once had an Asian model go. and she said, "Hey, the girl, and you know what's the thing, and
That's a real hard question to answer. I don't know what to do with that.
We're going to send this. We're going to send the tape of this to Bill in C Block.
The amazing thing to me about what happened with Cosby, and there were women lined up like at a market with numbers waiting for him. I mean, that he had to go through. I mean, that had to be a psychological issue because he had every woman in the world he ever wanted, right, Marcus?
That my answer to that is the first week of the show, I was 28 years old and I walked up to Cosby and I said, Bill, I found an apartment that's half a block from where you live. And he put his arm around me. He said, "You and I are never going for beers, okay?" and that meant we have a professional relationship. You're going to be in your side of things. I'll be on my side of things. Mm-hmm. So I just don't really know that part of his life at all.
No.
God, I remember in the early days, I mean, they were just lined up.
Well, like with Gilbert. Last question for me, Bob. Bill Cosby actually advised you to not work so blue?
Oh, yeah. He always did. He always did. But I got it out on stage and he got it out in people's faces.
Did Do you know anything about Asian models?
Oh yes. This one of the writers of the Cosby Show when I did a guest spot told me that Cosby had it in his schedule that an hour was set aside to teach comedy to Asian models.
Well, that makes sense. That sounds.
Well, that's why
That sounds-
That's why you hear so many Asian girls going, "Hey, I was my friend Fat Albert."
You know, when you see pictures of him now, he doesn't look happy. I don't understand. And I idolized him. That's the weirdest part. I really did look up to him when he was on I Spy with his albums. He was an influence, you know. And I started cleaner, and then I don't know what happened. I kind of blew up my TV image, or did more of what I did before I got family shows, and I still. I guess my act's less blue than it used to be. Or my act, whatever I'm rolling right now in stand-up, is not as blue. I'm trying to just do what I find funny, and I tell stories, and I love a good dick joke. I mean, who doesn't?
According to these writers I spoke to, on the schedule on the Cosby Show, he would take out an hour, and that hour was to teach comedy to Asian models.
Bill Cosby?
Yes.
Supposedly.
Oh my God.
Supposedly.
Oh my God. You know the story about Tommy Smothers sucker punching Bill Cosby,
Oh, yes.
right?
Oh, I heard that Bill Cosby punched him. What happened?
Oh, no, yeah, you're right. You're right. It is the other way around. Because they were on The Tonight Show, and I guess Bill Cosby was the guest host, and Tommy Smothers made some sort of comment about how Bill Cosby was not very active, like in the civil rights or Black Power, and he felt he should because he had a platform. And apparently Bill Cosby was really smug and dismissive on The Tonight Show of Tommy Smothers. Yeah, they were at the Playboy Mansion where Bill Cosby was busy raping people, and took a break, and he walked up behind Tommy Smothers and cold-cocked him from behind. I think he knocked him unconscious. And I remember talking to Smothers back in like 2007, and I said, "Have you talked to him since?" And he said, "I've never talked to Bill Cosby in like 35 years." You know?
You know, that is so odd to me that Cosby is like this again. And you met Cosby, and of course, what did he tell you about Asian models?
Oh yeah, this
Gilbert
was
on the
a
Cosby Show.
writer.
Yeah, right.
A writer told me that Cosby had it in his schedule that at a certain part of the day, like 3 to 3:45, he teaches comedy to Asian models. That's why they're so
Guilty.
That's insane. It's fucking. Oh God.
That is. I mean, think about that.
That's why whenever you're with an Asian girl and she says, "Hey,
I'm seeing Lucy Liu at the Funny Bone. Yeah, and she's a Cosby student. He teaches not even acting, comedy.
And
like how the fuck we can teach comedy?
fact, when you have sex with Lucy Liu, she yells out, "Hey, hey, hey!"
Oh, that's fucking fantastic. Oh, God. That's the funniest fucking thing of all time. To think of Lucy Liu doing Fat Albert while you're fucking her. Can you do Rudy? Hey, Badaba, you've been looking on the ground, Badooba.
I love that kid. Hey, Badaba.
Hey, Badaba. Oh, my God. Lucy Liu and Fat Albert. Hey, it's Charlie's Angels. Well, this has been the last thing we'll all do in our career.
Yes.
But Gilbert, we've come to the end of
He
another...
uses the career lightly. Yeah.
As opposed to Mike, who does nothing lightly. Let me tell you something. I always have a good time with you. It's great to get together. More people would hear this if we said it in my kitchen, I think. But thank you for being on. Again, plug your podcast because it's amazing.
Gilbert Gottfried's amazing colossal podcast.
Mike.
I got rubbed off and you go with
Gilbert Gottfried's amazing colossal podcast. Oh, and moving to Sirius.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, and my website, gilbertgottfried.com. Both of us are on Cameo.
That's right. Cameo. Find me and Gilbert, like $150. You can find us on. I'm already line 67.
Could you guys push for Cameo with me or no?
Yeah, we'll try to get you on it. You and High Pitch Eric.
And my Twitter is Real Gilbert.
At the Real Gilbert.